Hey everyone, how are we doing? My name is Tim Pongres and this is Focus on Detailing. Today's video is all about a big detail for a very little car. Recently, I've been lucky enough to work on a Morris Mini Cooper S. The owner is all about keeping things original, so he brought it to me so I can do my very best to bring some life back into it. This video outlines the two-stage correction and ceramic coating that the little beast got. I go over how I go about it, the products I use, and the end results. Being so old, it did come with some new challenges and always new things to learn. So without further ado, here it is. So according to the plates, I believe this is a 1962 Morris Mini Cooper S. She's a little rough, and much like the F100 I previously worked on, it could go with a trip to the body shop, but that's not what the owner wants. Understandably, he wants to keep it original, just looking better than how it does now, to bring the most out of what is left, restoring life to the paint, chrome and other surfaces, allowing for easier maintenance washes. A great way to achieve this is by completing a two-stage correction with a ceramic coating. I started like how I always do, with the wheels. I used Autoraz Focus on APC for the rubber, Bowden's own Wheelie Clean for the wheels, and Jay Leno's Garage Clean Strip for the lubricant for the brushes. I sprayed the wheel cleaner first all around the face and behind it as much as I could. While that breaks down the heavier contaminants across the rim, I sprayed the APC generously across the rubber and inside the wheel well if needed, then immediately scrubbed with a firm brush from my bucket of soapy water. This helps to remove the grotty brown tyre look you often see and allows for a deeper clean, prepping them for tyre shine much later on. Before I rinsed all that off, I focused back in on the rim, cleaning them and getting in all around the nook and crannies using a brush and a wheel woolly. Having the cleaner sit on there longer has allowed for an easier scrub down and removal of embedded mess. Everything was then rinsed down from top to bottom, taking anything that was loosened or dragged up off the wheel. This was done in the exact same way for the rest of them. Unfortunately, these wheels are a little hard done by, full of pitting, but we're not about the excuses. I just had to do the best I can to clean them. Once they were all done, I turned my attention to the paintwork. I used my Foamy foam cannon filled with a little bit of Autoraz Focus on APC and Bowden's own Snow Job. This is known as a strip wash. I foamed up the car and, shock horror, it needed very little to coat this beast. It was now helping to emulsify the light mess, but while that's happening, it's no time to rest, as it's a perfect opportunity to grab a brush and agitate and clean areas that are a little harder to reach. An extra spray of APC doesn't hurt here too. Once I was content that the foam had done its job, I rinsed it off. I made sure to keep the wand at a safe distance and use a nozzle that allowed for a broad spray, as we didn't want to peel off or damage the paintwork anymore, or push water down the seals, but still wanted to allow for a proper clean, so it was vital to just be careful. Up next was the two bucket method. Again, I used Jay Leno's Clean Strip. Although there would be likely no protective finishes on this car, it doesn't hurt to use these washes, as it further aids in the next cleansing steps. I worked over sections of the car at a time and pressure washed as I went along, but it was so small it didn't really take all that long. That's not an excuse though to avoid rinsing off your wash mitt in the rinse bucket, as it was still pretty grimy. The washing stage was now complete, but before I dried the car down, I had to perform a deeper cleansing process across the car. With a clay bar from Bowden's Own and a chemical decon product called Purify from NV, I started the next step. I sprayed Purify across a section, then with a clay bar that had been molded, I worked in straight motions to lift the more embedded mess. Purify helps to release iron particles from the surface and act as a clay lubricant as well, while the clay bar helps to remove the deeper contaminants like bug splats, overspray and other pollutants. Purify turned to a purple colour when reacting with the iron, so you can see exactly what it's doing and how well it's working.
Of course, just like before, I rinsed down the area I worked on thoroughly before moving on to the next. You should be able to feel the clay bar working its magic too. Once you complete an area, it should feel slick, not grippy, and there should be no gritty sounds whatsoever. This takes time. Sometimes particular spots will need more attention than others, but there is no cheating here. Be careful, precise, and it will further aid in the next detailing steps. Once I had finished the car here, it could be dried down. It was now clean, slick, free of contaminants, and ready for the paint correcting stages. After pulling it out from the cover, you can see how badly swelled up she is. It may be a small car, but it'll be needing a lot of attention to bring the most out of that old paint. Before bringing out the polisher, it's important that I taped off any rubber or surfaces that I didn't want the pads and correcting creams to get in contact with. This is just a precaution that helps to prevent discoloration of plastics and rubber. Now it was time to pick the appropriate combo to restore this paint. We want a cutting pad, but we don't want to cut down too much of what little paint is left. I decided to go with ShineMate's yellow pad with Shine Supply's classic cut. Could have gone to a heavier cut? Of course, but I wanted to go for an option that would be safe. Yes, it might be slower than a heavier cut combo, but it's best to go for something that can create fantastic finish safely. Last thing we want to do is go too far in that old color and create irreversible damage. I worked by placing several pea-sized drops onto the pad, pressed it across the work area, then spread it with fast motions on a low speed before slowing my hand movements right down and increasing the speed right up of the DA polisher. Crosshatch motion is the way to go, working slowly to achieve a nice, mostly defect-free finish. I say mostly as no matter what there would be imperfections I'd be unable to remove, whether it be rust, pitting or scratches that had just gone too deep. But I must say Shine Supply's classic cut was really good to work with, amazing to remove defects with little dusting and super easy to wipe off. I was using my ShineMate DA polisher with a 5-inch backing plate for the most part, before moving to my smaller ShineMate dual action polisher with a 3-inch backing plate. To get in and around the badges, I used a cotton bud. It's a simple method, but without taking the badges off completely, it's still a good option. This process took me into the night until I had finished, ready to polish tomorrow. Now for the polishing stage. I decided to go with ShineMate's Blue Pad and NV Finesse. The goal here was to refine down my work to a more brilliant finish, removing any marring left from compounding and adding more gloss. It was done in the exact same process as when cutting, using very little pressure when working along each panel and very slow movements. I was just as wary when compounding to avoid any spots where the paint was peeling or where it was rusting. Would have potentially made it only worse. NV Finesse worked perfectly to finish off the paintwork, leaving it all set up for the further steps. Now that the paint was looking better, it was time to focus on areas that were needing that extra bit of love. I started with the glass. Using Shine Supply's glass polish and an applicator pad, I worked it over in circular motions, using moderate pressure and overlapping motions to make sure I was giving the glass a nice clean looking finish. I used a damp microfiber towel to wipe off the excess, then a dry microfiber towel to buff off to a streak-free finish. It was important to keep that tape around the rubber seals, if not adding more like in my case, to avoid staining the rubber. The glass felt surprisingly different after this. It went from grippy to smooth and was now ready for protection just like the paintwork. Before protecting everything, I still had one more thing to do, and that was polishing up the chrome. I could have used the glass polish for this, as it does state you can do it, but decided to go with Bowden's own metal polish, as that is a favourite of mine. Just doing it by hand with yet another applicator pad worked perfectly to restore shine and help remove any oxidation or staining. If you did want to use a polisher, make sure you use a pad that you didn't really want anymore, as it will make a mess of it. Jobs like these are sometimes overlooked, but they do help change the overall appearance of the car, making for a far more refined and appealing look. The time had now come to prep the car for its coating. As usual, I gave it a wipe down using Shine Supply's Throwback. This is going to help remove any residual oils from the paint that could have been left behind from the compounds and polishes. It will also be helping for the best possible bond for the coating, allowing for a clean, long-lasting finish. I decided to go with Shine Supply's BeadLock Pro, and yes, for this job I'm using a lot of Shine Supply's stuff. I pulled out their applicator pad that they supply and placed a line across. Little did I know that that was plenty. I worked in straight motions, overlapping to make sure I covered a particular spot evenly. A few drops over the pad did go a long way. You can see where you've been. A shiny, oily, rainbow-like film will be left, and after waiting 45 to 60 seconds, you can buff that off. One towel to remove the majority, then a separate towel to lightly wipe for an even and level surface. This was done over every surface, but no matter where I tried, the results were the same. Super easy to apply then buff, and left an unbelievable slick and shiny finish. It states it can last up to 4 years, and one layer creates a thickness level of 2 to 3 microns. But I was going for more than just one layer here. So after waiting the required time, which was 1 hour, I went over the entire car again. Unfortunately, there will be no water beading test, as you should wait a whole lot longer than a few hours before putting water on a coating like this, but that can be for another day. The final thing that I did to finish off this beast was apply a coating of Auto-Raz Focus On tyres across all 4 of those little go-kart like tyres. This left a nice rich black look to the rubber, and after this step, it was all set to be brought out from the carport and admired. This Morris Cooper came in looking a little tired, and rightfully so. It's an old car now, and it had been cared for. The fact that it's here shows that the owner wants to look after it. Many hours were spent getting it looking how it does now. I was really happy with the end results, and only felt further accomplished when the owner picked it up. They loved how it was looking now, and I really appreciate being able to work on a car such as this. Slick, glossy, shiny, however you want to put it, it was certainly looking better, and couldn't have been achieved without using such great products. It was now ready to be taken away and enjoyed. On that positive note, I'm going to finish off this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you all later.